Doc, let me just ask you straight. Why is it that the moment you start trying to live right, do good, straighten up life, decides to body slam you? I mean, I've been there, man. You put down the bad habits, stop fooling around, start walking the narrow road, and boom, bills pile up, folks switch up, and doors start closing. That don't even make sense, does it?
Well, Steve, that question has echoed through the hearts of many. And here's what I believe: when you begin to align your life with truth and purpose, you disrupt the forces that were quite comfortable with your chaos. The moment a man decides to rise, resistance greets him. It's not a punishment, it's confirmation that you're headed somewhere worth going. When the seed breaks the soil, the dirt doesn't welcome it, it pushes back. But the seed grows anyway. Why? Because it was born to. So are you. Remember, progress often feels like pain. The furnace that refines gold is hot, but it brings out the shine. Likewise, the storm that tests your faith also strengthens it. Life isn't punishing you for doing right, it's preparing you to stand firm in what's right. Every great soul must pass through fire, but not to burn, only to be refined.
Then nod, seriously. Man, you're preaching now, Doc. That part about the dirt pushing back, the whoo, I felt that. You're right, it ain't comfortable when you start growing. I remember when I gave my life to God, folks started falling off like leaves in October. I thought something was wrong with me. But truth is, I was just outgrowing what couldn't hold me no more. And let me tell y'all this, sometimes life hitting hard is proof you ain't soft no more. You got a calling now, and anything worth having gonna come with some friction. That's just the grind, that's the gym of the spirit. You don't grow stronger without resistance. So yeah, when life starts throwing punches, don't panic, just lift your guard. It means you're in the ring, and it means you still got fight in you. Okay, Doc, let me ask you something else. I know I ain't the only one who's ever asked this. Is it okay, really okay to feel weak even when you believe in God? Because sometimes you're out here praying, doing the right thing, but inside, man, you tired. You feel like you're hanging on by a thread. And folks out here saying, where's your faith? Like you ain't allowed to break down if you believe.
Steve, let me say this as clearly as I can. Yes, it is not only okay to feel weak, it is part of the human condition to feel tired, worn, overwhelmed. That does not disqualify your faith. In fact, it's often the greatest sign that your faith is working because it keeps you going despite the weight. Even the strongest tree bends in a storm, but it does not break because its roots run deep. Faith is not about never trembling, it's about standing firm while you do. Even Christ himself wept. Even prophets cried out in despair. You see, we are not called to be perfect, we are called to be anchored. And when your soul feels weak, let that be the signal to return not to your own strength, but to the one who renews strength. Your weakness does not make you less faithful, it makes you real. And God meets us best in our realness, not our performance.
Doctor, you're talking today. You really are. Man, that word anchored hit me right in the chest. Look, I done had days where I felt like I couldn't even finish a prayer. I start with Dear Lord and just sit there quiet, tears rolling, heart heavy. But somehow, I still got up and went on. That don't mean I ain't faithful. It just means I'm human. And let me say this for the folks listening. If you cry, if you get tired, if you feel like throwing in the towel sometimes, don't let nobody tell you you ain't got faith. Faith ain't about looking strong. It's about not letting go when everything in you says quit. So yeah, feel weak if you gotta sit down if you must. But don't you dare stay down, because that little flicker inside you, that's faith. That's the fight still in you. That's God saying, I'm not done with you yet. All right, Doc, now this one's personal. You ever been praying, crying, begging even, and God just goes quiet? Real silent, like you're standing in an empty room talking to the wall. Why is that? Why does God get quiet exactly when we need to hear him the most?
Steve, that's a question that echoes through the chambers of every honest believer's heart. The silence of God, it can be the loneliest sound in the world, but I've come to believe that silence is not absence. It is presence cloaked in stillness. You see, when the teacher is silent, it often means the test is in progress. When God is silent, he may not be punishing you, he may be preparing you. Silence has a way of deepening our listening. It strips away the noise of emotion, of urgency, and brings us face to face with our inner life. That silence draws us inward into faith, not just feelings. It invites trust without transaction. God may be silent, but he is never absent. And often when he says nothing, he's actually doing his deepest work beneath the surface in your spirit, in your situation. Seeds grow in silence too. So don't fear the quiet, Steve. Lean into it. Let it build something in you that noise never could.
Man, look, I ain't gonna lie. When I first heard silence, I thought God left the building like, yo, God, I know you're busy, but I got rent due. And nothing. No sign, no answer. Just me and the ceiling fan. But you're right, Doc. Some of the biggest moves in my life came right after that silence. Like God was holding back to let me grow up a little. Maybe he was waiting for me to stop talking long enough to finally hear. And let me tell y'all something. Sometimes the silence ain't punishment, it's protection. You might be asking for something too small, and God's like, wait, son, I got better. So yeah, if he quiet, don't panic. That silence might just be God sneaking a miracle behind the curtain. You just keep walking. Don't lose the faith just because you can't hear his voice. He ain't gone. He's just waiting for the right moment. Okay, Dr. Norman, how do you hold on to hope when your whole world's falling apart? I mean, the bill's overdue, your body tired, your people ain't calling, and every door you knock on don't just stay closed, it slams in your face. How do you stay hopeful when nothing around you looks like it's going to get better?
Steve, hope isn't the denial of pain. It's the decision to believe in something beyond it. It's not a feeling you stumble into, it's a discipline you choose. When everything seems to be going wrong, hope is the light you keep lit. Even when the winds are howling, you protect it like a flame in your hands, shielding it from despair, feeding it with truth. I've seen people hold on to hope with nothing in their pockets, no help in sight, no strength left in their bones, yet their spirits stayed upright because they believed something better was still possible. You must speak life even when death surrounds you. Tell yourself, I am not finished. This valley is not permanent. My life is more than what I see right now. Hope is not just positive thinking, it is divine thinking. It is saying, I trust that God's plan doesn't end in this chapter. I will walk by faith, not by sight, and I will walk one more step, even if I do it with tears in my eyes. Steve, even a candle can shine in complete darkness, and your soul, when lit with hope, becomes a light no storm can put out.
Whew. Doc, I felt that. That walk with tears in your eyes line. Lord, that's me some days. I remember the time when I was living in my car, I had nothing but a busted dream and a cheap radio. And I swear to you, every morning, I still said, thank you, God. Even though I was broke, hungry, and smelling like yesterday. But that thank you, that was my hope. That was me telling God, I don't know how, but I know you. Look here, if your life feel like it's falling apart, don't wait for it to feel better before you get up. Stand in the mess and still raise your head. Say, I'm still here. Say, I still believe. Because I'm living proof you don't need a perfect situation to have a powerful comeback. You just need to keep your hope breathing. All right, Doc, this one's been on my heart for a long time, and I know a lot of folks think about it, but don't say it out loud. Why do some people suffer more than others? I mean, you see good folks, kind-hearted, hardworking, who just can't catch a break. And then you got people who do wrong and still live in the big house on the hill. What's that about?
Steve, that question reaches deep into the mystery of life. And while I cannot pretend to have the full mind of God, I can offer a truth that sustained me through decades of watching people rise through pain. Ache suffering is not always about punishment. Often it's about preparation. Some souls are called to carry more, not because they are weaker, but because they are stronger than they know. There is a divine shaping happening in their hardship, something being forged within them that comfort could never create. A person who has walked through deep valleys tends to walk with a different kind of grace. Their faith is not theoretical, it's tested, it's real. They know how to comfort others, not with hollow words, but with eyes that have seen sorrow and hands that have held pain. And Steve, don't be fooled by the appearance of prosperity. Not all who smile are at peace. Not all who rise have roots. Life has a way of revealing what is true in its own time. If you are suffering more than others, don't think you've been forgotten. You may simply be on a path that's preparing you to carry a deeper purpose.
Man, Doc, I feel that in my soul. You're right. I used to look around and say, God, why me? But somewhere along the line, that why me turned into thank you. You know why? Because that pain taught me how to talk to people who ain't got nobody. That pain made me real. All right? Doc, here's what people ask me all the time. And I know you've heard it too. Is it still possible to win after you've failed over and over? I'm talking about folks who've messed up so many times they lost count. They're tired. They don't see no open doors. They feel like their window closed 10 years ago. What do you say to that person?
I say to that person, your past does not define your possibilities. If you have breath, you have purpose. If you have the will to rise, then the road is still open. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's the process of becoming. The only people who never fail are the ones who never dare. And it's often those who have fallen the hardest who rise the highest because they learn humility, perseverance, and the value of grace. God does not count how many times you fall. He notices how many times you get back up. The number is not the issue, the heart is. And let me remind you, some of the world's greatest breakthroughs came after countless failures. Thomas Edison once said, I have not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. You are never disqualified by failure, only by giving up. And Steve's success isn't always about riches or fame. Sometimes it's simply about becoming the person God always knew you could be, someone wiser, stronger, and more compassionate than your younger self could have imagined.
Okay, Doc, listen, if I had a nickel for every time I failed, I'd be richer than I am now, and I'm doing all right. Man, I done been rejected more times than I can count, slept in my car, bombed on stage, lost everything more than once. But here's the truth. Every time I thought it was over, it was really just a chapter ending, not the whole book. God had a twist coming. I didn't see it, but he was writing it. So if you're listening right now and you feel like you failed too many times, let me tell you something. No, you haven't. You just ain't finished yet. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be persistent. God can use your mess ups for a miracle. Trust me, I'm walking proof. Let's move forward. Doc, this one's for the folks who are sitting in silence tonight, staring at a roof they're about to lose or a table with nothing on it. How do you tell somebody to be grateful when they've lost everything? When the marriage is over, the job is gone, the house is cold, and even their friends done vanished. What does gratitude even mean then?
Steve, gratitude is not the celebration of only what we have, it's the decision to honor what remains and what cannot be taken. Even in loss, something remains, breath remains, memory remains. The chance, no matter how small, to begin again remains. Gratitude in suffering is not a denial of pain, but an act of rebellion against despair. It says, I may be broken, but I'm not defeated. I may be empty-handed, but I am not empty-hearted. I have stood with widows, with the jobless, the bankrupt, the forgotten, and time and again I've witnessed something sacred happen when they found the courage to say thank you anyway. Thank you for the sunrise. Thank you for one more heart. Thank you for the strength to get out of bed. Steve, gratitude is how we declare that the worst thing is never the last thing. It's how we shift our soul out of grief's grip and back into God's grace. It's not always loud. Sometimes it's a whisper, I'm still here. And sometimes that's all heaven needs to hear.
Man, you ain't lying. I remember sitting in my car at 38, no home, no money, not even enough gas to leave the lot I was parked in. And I just cried. But then I look up and say, God, if you wake me up again tomorrow, I'll try again. That was my thank you. Wasn't no feast in front of me, wasn't no paycheck coming, just air in my lungs and a little faith in my chest. And guess what? That little bit was enough to hold on, enough to keep hoping, enough to get me here. So if you out there thinking you got nothing, remember this. If you can still say thank you, then you still got power. And I don't care what the world says, a grateful soul is a dangerous thing. It don't give up easy. It don't go down quiet. Doc, you know, we grow up hearing that strength means never crying, never folding, always being the tough one in the room. But in real life, man, that kind of strength don't always hold. So tell me, in your eyes, what does real strength actually look like when life gets hard?
Steve, real strength is not about how much you can carry. It's about how deeply you're rooted when the winds blow. It's not how loud you are, it's how steady you stay. You see, we've mistaken strength for performance. But the strongest people I've ever known didn't shout about it. They simply endured. They got up when there was no applause. They faced another day when yesterday nearly broke them. And most importantly, they kept their hearts soft in a world that tried to harden them. Strength is showing up when you're tired. It's forgiving when you'd rather hate. It's saying yes to hope when fear makes more sense. Sometimes real strength is just not quitting, not running, not giving up on yourself when it would be easier to stop believing. And sometimes it's knowing when to rest and let God carry what you can't. I've counseled war veterans, single mothers, recovering addicts, and I've seen more strength in a whisper of surrender than in a roar of resistance. Because when a person says, Lord, I can't, but you can't, that's not weakness, that's divine courage.
Oh, Doc, you said a word right there, soft heart in a hard world. That's tough. Look, I used to think being strong meant never letting them see you sweat, never letting a tear drop. But now I know it takes way more strength to keep moving with your heart wide open. See, I done met men who could bench press the world but couldn't forgive their daddy. I seen women raise 3 kids alone with a smile and a tired back. That's strength. That's power. And let me tell y'all listening, strength don't always look like muscles or medals. Sometimes it looks like someone kneeling by their bed saying, God, please help me make it one more day. If you're still showing up in your own life, if you're still trying even with a cracked voice and a tired soul, let me tell you something, you're already strong. Don't let nobody make you forget that. All right, Doc, here's one that hits deep. What do you do when you've been praying, not just once or twice? I mean, really praying, crying, fasting, begging, and nothing seems to change. You ever had that moment where you start wondering if God's even listening? What do you tell folks when their prayers feel like they're just floating into space?
Steve, I've been there. I've stood at the edge of heartbreak and whispered prayers into what felt like silence. But let me tell you something I've learned through the quiet seasons. Unanswered prayers are never unheard prayers. God is not a vending machine. He's a father, and sometimes the most loving thing a father can do is wait. When it seems like your prayer isn't being answered, it may be that the answer is growing, not missing. Sometimes we're praying for something immediate while God is working on something eternal. He's not ignoring you. He's preparing something that fits His vision for your life, not just your current emotions. In those moments, don't stop praying, but shift the prayer. Ask not just for the outcome, but for the strength to endure. Ask for clarity, ask for patience, asked to be shaped, not just saved. Some of the best answers I ever received came long after I forgot what I asked for because they didn't arrive in the form I expected, but they were exactly what I needed.
Doc, that hits me hard, man. You just spoke truth that most folks too scared to say that maybe it ain't the no that hurts us. Maybe it's the wait. I remember praying for God to fix my life, but he didn't give me what I asked for. He gave me a mic, gave me a stage, gave me purpose. That wasn't even on my prayer list. And listen, y'all, if your prayer hasn't been answered yet, it doesn't mean it won't. It might just mean God's trying to grow you before he grows the thing you're praying for. Don't confuse God's silence with absence, and don't let the delay make you quit. Because one day when the door finally opens, you're going to look back and say, oh, now I get it. Keep praying, keep hoping, keep moving. You ain't been forgotten. You're just in the middle of the masterpiece. Doc, we've talked about pain, struggle, waiting, falling, rising. But now I want to land this plane where we started with faith, not just belief when things go right. I'm talking about that real, raw, unshakable faith when everything's going wrong. So tell me straight, in your words, what does it truly mean to have faith in tough times?
Steve, true faith is not tested on the mountaintop. It is born in the valley. To have faith in tough times means you trust what you cannot see, when everything you can see tells you to give up. It's choosing to believe that even in your darkest hour, the light still exists, even if it hasn't reached you yet. Faith is not the absence of fear, it's the decision to move forward despite it. It's saying, I don't know how this will work out, but I know who holds the outcome. See, faith isn't proven by our success, it's proven by our surrender, by our willingness to place the unknown in God's hands and still rise every morning with the courage to take the next step. And here's the secret, faith doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers, try again. Sometimes it simply says, hold on. And other times it says nothing at all, but it stays. That still silent knowing in your soul that this is not the end of your story, that is faith. And it will carry you through storms no map can guide you through.
Doc, man, that's it right there. See, a lot of people think faith is about having all the answers. Nah, real faith is standing in the middle of a question and still raising your hand saying, thank you, Lord. Faith is when you lose everything and still choose to believe you're being rebuilt, not destroyed. It's when you broke, tired, mad, and still tell your soul, get up. We're not done. And look, I ain't always been the strongest. I ain't always been the smartest, but I did have faith. And that faith pulled me out of places talent couldn't. So if you're listening to this right now, maybe with tears in your eyes or your head in your hands, hear me, hear Doc, you ain't alone, you're not forgotten. Your faith is not in vain. This pain has a purpose. This storm has an exit. And God, he ain't finished with you yet. Keep walking, keep praying, keep believing, because faith in tough times, that's not just how you survive, that's how you rise.